At the outbreak of the war, being in the territorials, I was called up, and our unit was stationed for a short while in Checker School, Doncaster. Now, at that time, of course, we hadn't any equipment. I had a uniform, but I had to use a civilian overcoat and civilian shoes. But after a few weeks we was equipped, and we had been given a little bit of training, marching and so on, and we'd begun to think we were nearly like soldiers. We were then moved up to Newcastle area. Our headquarters was Benwell Lodge, and I myself was on duty for a while as a regimental policeman on the gates at the drive, and quite a nice little job it was. However, that didn't last long, and I was sent out onto a gun site. Now, gun sites in them days, as far as we were concerned, didn't have their own billets or anything like that. We were stationed to sleep in a school, Dunstan Council School, and every morning before dawn we had to get up, have a hurried breakfast, and be crowded into a lorry and taken a few miles outside at Dunstan, where we was disembarked off the lorry and just given the gun, and which were at that time Lewis gun, and a few dry rations, and we had to make the best of it. And the particular site that we had, there was an old hut in the middle of this field, and it's 8 miles from anywhere. But at the foot of the field, about 200 or 300 yards away, was a railway line, and the other side of that was the power station and the River Tyne. And the first morning we arrived there at the gun site, I say, we had no water, we had nothing to make life comfortable for us at all. In fact, with 6 inches snow. But going into the old hut and having a look round, we saw there was an old stove there, old stove that you feed from the top, and of course, unfortunately, with no coal, stick or anything of that kind. But I had noticed on this railway line, shunting about, was a little goods engine. And I think it had something to do with the power station down there. I asked permission from the sergeant who was in charge of us if we could go down and see if we could catch some coal. Well, he said yes, so myself and a mate set off, and the driver and his mate were too glad to oblige, and we came back with a sack full of coal. Now, after we'd got the fire going, someone had managed to find some stick and a bit of paper. After we got the fire going, we thought we'd like a cup of tea. But not having water, we had to go outside and fill our Dixie with snow. I don't know if you ever melted snow or not, but if you melt a full Dixie of snow, you end up by just a little drop of water in the bottom. Of course, we had to keep fetching handsful of snow in and put it in the Dixie. It wasn't that clean, but we weren't that bothered. Anyway, it ended up that finally we got enough snow in to give us enough water for our cup of tea. Well, we boiled it up and put in a handful or two of tea, and then a tin of unsweetened milk, bit of sugar, stirred it all up, and then shared out the tea. My, didn't it taste lovely. We were ready for that. Well, after the time at Newcastle, we finally got orders to move on. By this time I'd ceased to be a gunner on the gun site, and I'd gone back to headquarters as a dispatch rider. So when the order came for us to move south, I was one of the dispatch riders who attacked like a sheepdog round a herd of sheep, seeing that the flock, the convoy, kept pretty close together and not too close, and any that were dropping behind, see that they caught up, or if they couldn't catch up for some reason or other, go on ahead and stop the others until they did do. Anyway, we came down, well, we passed through Doncaster, and it was rather amusing. When I knew we were coming through Doncaster, I put my foot down and I got into Doncaster about half an hour before the head of the convoy. I went straight up to where my wife lived and stopped, went in and had a little talk to him, a little kiss, and then had to go back. And I just met the front of the convoy on the North Bridge, just as I'd been there all the time. Anyway, no one knew that I'd been away from the convoy. Finally, we ended up in Falmouth. Now then, after we'd had a while in Falmouth, not much was happening at that time. We was moved up to Blackdown. Blackdown is near Aldershot, and there we was given new lorries and whatnot and fitted up ready for going to France. Now, and while we were there, we heard all about Dunkirk. I didn't go until after Dunkirk, and we went across from Portsmouth and landed at Cherbourg. Now, after the Dunkirk episode, everyone in the neighbourhood of Paris had got the wind up right, and they was all trying to flee to the south of France. So when we got our vehicles on the road at Cherbourg and tried to go into the direction of France, we found out that our biggest trouble wasn't driving on the wrong side of the road, the right instead of the left. It was the fact that we was meeting all this, well, these huge crowds of people trying to come away from where the Germans were. We practically had to force our way through the crowd. They had motor cars, they had lorries, they had vans, they had all carts and drays and push bikes and on foot pushing perambulators, and everybody seemed to have all the worldly goods with them, and it made it very awkward for us to keep going the way we wanted to go. However, after 2 or 3 days of this, we turned off the main road into a country lane. It was glorious weather, and near this lane was a beautiful river. Now, seeing this river was too great a temptation for most of us, and we fancied a swim. So, getting permission, I suppose, we went down for a swim. Now, we hadn't bathing costumes, but that didn't worry us. And on the bank, close to where we were going to swim, a little old lady was washing her clothes. Now, in France, you maybe know, they used to wash the clothes, but in that day anyway, by punching them up and down on a log or a stone that was near the banking, and then dipping them into the clear water and then out again and punching them up and down. Maybe damaged the clothes, but used to get the clothes clean. Anyway, we left the old lady there. We ignored her and we went into the river. We were just enjoying a lovely swim when we heard a droning, and looked up in the direction of the noise, and flying along the river course was a huge German bomber. Now it was very, very low, and we could plainly see the gunner in the forward turret. Now when he saw us in the water, he recognised we were soldiers, so he opened up. Well, the first thing we knew about it was seeing these spurts as the bullets hit the water, which I think he must have been good-natured or a bad aimer, because not one of us was hit. Well, I think all of us that were in the water broke the world's record for speed. I know I went as fast as I could to get out, and when I got out most of the other chaps were behind trees and whatnot, so they'd beaten me. And the little old lady, well, I never saw her again, so she must have broke some world record herself. And after our swimming episode, we went back to the lorries and stayed there for a while, and it got dusk, and we settled down to kip for the night. I was sleeping in my own, I don't know, 30 underweight truck, and I was on my own, and I was laid across the front seat and blanket over me and my tunic wrapped up for a pillow, and tried to go to sleep. Well, just before dawn next morning, I was awakened by someone knocking at the window of the side, and I looked up, and the officer, it was an officer, he said, "Come on, raise the move in 5 minutes. The Germans are only 5 miles off and they're coming fast, so we've got to get out." Well, the officer rushed up the line of vehicles and told them all the same tale. Anyway, within 5 minutes I had my boots on and the tunic on and my engine warmed up, and we were ready to move. The signal came and off we went. We went across fields and through a farmyard, and finally we came out on a road and set off down this road as fast as we could go. And we didn't know where we were going to, but we ended up just a few miles from Brest. Brest's a seaport, of course, and when we got near to this town, I saw the front of the convoy coming back towards me. I said, "Oh dear, what's this all about?" But I soon found out. I found out that I had to go down as far as a traffic island, come back round it, and go back the way we'd come. We went back about a mile or so and down a country lane and stopped. We all got out of our vehicles, and the officer said, "From here we've got to walk to the docks." Well, he said the reason we can't go right down to the docks is because there's too many vehicles in the area, and all the fields and all the lanes that we'd passed for the few miles previous had been absolutely chock-a-block with vehicles and guns and ammunition dumps and Lord knows what. So we quite agreed and saw his point when he said that if the Germans dropped a bomb among it, it would blow the whole area sky high. Anyway, we set off, walking from there to the docks. But before we went, I just had a look round the vehicle to see what I could pick up, and mine being a storage truck, I saw there were 3 pair of binoculars, so I got these 3 pair of binoculars out, and I gave one to one chap, one to another, and the other I kept for myself. I've still got them somewhere. And also not wanting to leave anything for the Germans, I even took me gas cape and overcoat and everything I'd got, and we set off marching from the vehicles back onto the main road and down the main road towards Brest. After a mile or so, it was getting very hot. I was sweating like a bull, so were a lot more. The officer said, if any of you can catch a lift on one of them vehicles, there are a few vehicles going the same way as us, they belong to the RAF, and there must have been 1 or 2 aerodromes around there. And they were only moving slowly, of course. Says if you can jump on back of one of them, you can drop off near Brest and wait there for us, and we'll pick you up as we come by. So after a bit more sweating, I thought, well, I'll take advantage of this. So I made a sudden spurt and jumped on the tailboard of one of these vehicles. Just as I settled myself comfortably on the tailboard, somebody handed a bottle, and I took it and I had a drink. Right, well, lovely, it was nice and cool. I tried to hand it back into the vehicle. I says, who's this belong to? Oh, have another drink, mate. So I had another little drink. Well, about, well, I don't know how long after, but we were approaching Brest by then, at top of the hill, and one of the chaps says, we turn off here, mate. You'll have to jump off here. If you wait about, your mates will catch you up. So I jumped off. You know, I could hardly stand. I don't know what had been in that bottle, but it must have been some. I was half drunk. First time in my life and all. Anyway, after a bit, the lads who'd been marching and a few of the others who'd carried lifts caught up, and we set off down into Brest. Now Brest, like many another town, well, like every town, there's shops to either side of the road, and outside one of the shops there's a wagon laden with mineral waters and pop and whatnot. And as I was walking close by it, I don't know if it was a little drink I'd had inside me that caused me to do it, but I couldn't resist the impulse of grabbing one of these bottles as I passed. I grabbed it, and walking along, kept it behind me as I walked along. But before I knew where I was, I felt somebody clutch it, and away it went. I looked round hurriedly, but I had no idea who'd taken it. I don't know yet. So we went down into the dock area, and everything seemed confusion. There were vehicles all over, and motorbikes piled here and piled there, and we were put aboard a boat. I forget the name of it now. This boat was already laden up with troops. Seemed to be thousands on it. It wasn't a very big boat, and we were both between decks. It wasn't very high, and it was very hot and uncomfortable. Well, after we'd been shown where we were to go, I thought, well, I'm going up to have a breath of fresh air if possible. So I forced my way through the soldiers and went up on deck. It was very crowded there as well. You could hardly move. But the side I came up on was the side nearest the dock side. And round about me was a lot of Canadian soldiers. And while we were stood there, I saw a Frenchman, a civilian, grab a motorcycle that was reared up against a bollard. on the docks, and he wheeled it a bit, and then he got astride it, and he started trying to kick it off, and we realised that he was trying to pinch it. Of course, if he hadn't got it, Germans would. But one of these Canadians, must have been the homeless or something, he says, "Watch me make that chap jump." So he lifted up his rifle and boom! He didn't hit the man, but he did make him jump. The man jumped a mile. Motorbike dropped down in a heap and you couldn't see the man for dust. Well, the Canadian, he must have been fairly crafty anyway. He just straight away got close to the side and dropped his rifle into the water between the boat and the harbour side, dock side. Within a few minutes, the Canadians' officers were round, and they wanted to examine and smell everyone's rifle to see who fired the shot. Well, that was one rifle they couldn't smell or examine because it was in deep water. Well, after we set sail, we found that instead of going hurriedly across and getting off the boat in a hurry, we found out that from getting on the boat to actually getting off was 36 hours. We was anchored for 12 of these hours in the, I don't know what you call it, the roads or the entrance anyway to Falmouth, just within, say, a mile or so of the land, which was very annoying, particularly as no provisions had been laid on for us, and we'd only the water we had in our bottles to start off with, and we had no food of any kind. Well, as we pulled in to the dock side, we saw along part of the dock was a lot of trestle tables and huge piles of sandwiches on plates, and 200 or 300 mugs, and some of them had already got steaming drink in it. So I thought, oh, we should be alright once we get all of that, because we were getting pretty near ready for something by then, as you can understand. But when we got off the boat, when we stopped, we weren't allowed to go to that food. We had to go and get on a bus that was going to a place called Truro. Well, this was in the morning. We finally got a meal at 7 o'clock at night, and then it was just a bit of water stew and wasn't very appetising. From Truro we went back to Blackdown. Now, when we got back to Blackdown, we found out that we was going to be allowed a short disembarkation leave, 36 hours. Now, of course, most of us lived in the Doncaster area, and it meant going from Blackdown to London, from London up to Doncaster, and then, of course, reversing it on the way back. Of course, trains didn't run to our convenience, and you was lucky if you hit suitable trains. Unfortunately, trains didn't run as we wanted them to. A party went, and I wasn't among them, first party, and they landed back at Blackdown 3 or 4 hours after they should have been back at the camp. But nothing was said to them, and a few days later the second party, I was one, set off intending to go by the same train and come back by the same train, and we thought we should be okay as well. Anyway, off we went, visited our relatives in Doncaster, all came back to the station, came back on the same train, and arrived at Blackdown 2 or 3 hours after our deadline. Well, we went across the road into a canteen. It was Saturday afternoon. We didn't think it mattered about us going to the camp actually. We went into this canteen and ordered some tea. But one of the chaps who'd been in the earlier party, he happened to come in and he said, "Hey, you want to get back up to camp as quick as you can? He's putting everybody on a charge." So we hurried back to camp, but of course we were put on a charge. Now the officer who put us on a charge was our major. He was the one who tried us actually. He asked us if we'd accept his punishment. Now, I think he was a little bit sore because he knew that we sort of held a grudge against him, because from the time we landed at that place where we did our little bit of bathing, we never saw him until we got back to Blackdown camp again. We had an idea, might have been wrong, that he'd come back as quick as he could to get out at road at Germans, and that he was, to say the least, a bit of a coward. Anyway, that might have been wrong, I don't know. But he knew what we were thinking. So he gave us rather a severe sentence. We had to all sleep in one big barrack room. We had to be up at dawn, full equipment, set off marching round and round the barrack square, up and down and so on, for 2 solid hours with all full kit. Then a hurried breakfast, and then back out again doing the same thing until dark at night. Now, in the event of an air raid, we had to get up full kit again, and of course go on sit in vehicles. I think they expected an invasion or something at that time, and we were going to have to be ready to move to anywhere where we were needed. Of course, only the punishment men. Anyway, this went on for several days. I don't know how long it lasted, but we got orders to move, and we went down, our particular battery went down to a place near Gloucester where there's a large aerodrome, and at that time there was also building the Hurricanes there. Well, from there we had quite a stay there. From there we moved again, and this time we moved again to Falmouth, and at this time, as I say, more things were happening. The Germans were flush with the success. They'd taken over all France and were bombing and doing pretty much as they liked over the Channel and over the south coast. Now, Falmouth got quite a few raids, and I remember one particular raid. It appears that Mussolini, that's the Italian dictator, had asked permission for his air force to help Mr. Hitler to knock Falmouth to bits. Well, one of the planes was rather unlucky. He came over, and one of our anti-aircraft guns hit it, and the shell must have penetrated the bomb bay and exploded all the bombs that were there. Well, it was just like like an atom bomb exploding, I think, because everything exploded at once, and the town shook, and the glare for a few seconds was, and the noise, oh dear. I don't know what happened to the pilot and the crew. I don't know what happened to the plane for that matter. I never saw any wreckage of it. just disappeared. Well, we were down there for quite a while, and then we moved on as normally, and we ended up near Portsmouth. By this time the German raids were getting very severe, and instead of sending 10 and 20 planes over at once bombing, he was sending over hundreds at a time. I know we got some reports of raids that came over us 400 plus, and I remember one particular raid that came, and even the coastal guns had been elevated to have a smack at them, but there's that many planes coming over and they had that much mastery of the air. First of all, a wave of fighters came in, and they had tracer bullets in the guns, and all the barrage balloons were all brought down in flames, and then after them would come the heavy bombers. As they came, the air used to vibrate. It was the droning. Just imagine 400 or 500 heavy bombers, only about 2,000 feet up, and nothing to stop them. Just open the bomb bay doors and drop the bombs just where they wanted and when they liked. I remember ammunition dump close by to where we were was it, and that went up, and our passengers by it just after, and there'd been some ponies in the field. One of the ponies had been thrown up by the blast into a tree. It was dead, of course, and laid across a bough, right up in the top of the tree. I thought how remarkable it was to see it like that. And I know every time a raid come, there's a couple of submarines just in the harbour near us, and of course as soon as the warning came, they used to sink to the bottom of the harbour, and after the all clear came, up they'd bop again. And I saw a lot of aerial battles while we were there, and I remember cheering like mad one day when I saw a plane coming down in flames. Wingtip to wingtip, it was a plane, but when it got near to the ground I saw it was one of ours. And I saw a lot of chaps that had been had to bail out of the bombers, because some German planes were it, and as they're coming down in parachute, I'm afraid occasionally you could hear somebody on ground opening up with machine guns, and it went tut-tut-tut-tut-tut-tut. And not all the parachutes got down with the passengers safe. I think it was considered a dirty thing to do, but you could understand it when so many civilians were getting killed. Because one of the lovely things about air raids was, to me, listening to the people singing in the air raid shelters while the raids were at the highest. Now the voices used to swell with the breeze, and the music and the singing. It was lovely. I wish I'd had a tape recorder and could have recorded it during some of those tremendous raids over Portsmouth and that area at that time. Anyway, looking across the river at Portsmouth, and Portsmouth Harbour was just at the other side, and a train was pulling into Portsmouth Harbour Station just as air raid was on, and a bomb hit the train, and it reared up just like you see in the cinema. If I hadn't seen it, I should have believed it. It always looks ridiculous to see something like that happen, but I assure you it did, just as it does on the films. Well, our next place of any importance that we went to was Dover and Folkestone. Now at that time Dover was known as Hellfire Corner because we was well in reach of the German heavy guns which used to fire every now and again across at Dover. In fact, some of the shells went as far as Canterbury and even further, so we were well within range. Now while we were there, I saw one of the most remarkable things I think I've ever seen. The Germans put 29 shells into the centre of Dover Harbour. Now all these shells seemed to hit in the same place, smack in the centre of the harbour, just churning brown mud up from the bottom. It was one Sunday morning. If the shells hadn't been so accurate, they would have been sure to have done a lot of damage, but I don't think one of them did any. Looking across into France, you could see some days quite clearly. You could see the towns along the French coast. You could see shipping going in and out of the ports, shipping that was serving Germany. Occasionally we saw one of our convoys going up the channel. One, I know, was going up thinking it was covered by fog, and the fog cleared. And of course, immediately it was clear, the Germans started shelling it. A little fussy destroyer ran around this here little convoy with making smoke, and I don't think the Germans were lucky enough to hit. Occasionally we used to have E-boats come close to the harbour at night, German E-boats, and try to shoot up the harbour installations. And then of course at night, if you saw the German big guns fire, you could see the huge flash in France, and then after about pause of about 20 seconds or so, the shell would land in Dover or round about, usually chucking up a great lot of chalk from the hole it had made. Well, another thing that the Germans were pretty good at was the little hit and run raiders. They used to have a lot of fighter bombers that would come low, skimming over the waves, just clear of the waves. When they got to the harbour, they'd rear up, drop a couple of colours, then a couple of bombs, spin round and go back low down again over the waves, and many a time we didn't even get a shot at them. We certainly never hit